Hello, and welcome to Back Through the Lens, where two film school friends talk about movies through the haze of nostalgia, the good, the bad, and the ones that aren't quite how we remember them. I'm your host, Rachel, and with me is my co host, Joe. Today's movie is Poltergeist.
The tingle in the back of your neck. A flicker of lights. Household objects moving on their own. Some hauntings are merely an inconvenience or annoyance. However, sometimes the spirits can be angry and have ill will in their ghostly hearts. Maybe they just want to find their way to whatever afterlife they seek, or maybe, just maybe, they are jealous of the life we have and want to take out their frustrations on us.
Maybe, just maybe, you move the headstones and not the bodies. I feel like I don't know, I feel like with this one, we're really into more scary Halloween fare now.
Yeah, we're leaning into it. It's about halfway through October. It should be by the time this is out. And yeah, we're getting from happy-go-lucky essence-eating witches to
Yeah.
malevolent spirits.
Yeah. Did I tell you while I was watching this and doing my research on it, one of the neighbor kids was hanging out suddenly on my front porch. I didn't know he was out there, and I just kept seeing movement out my window, and I was like, well, surely I'm just imagining things, and all of a sudden a head popped up.
My God.
I took a picture and I sent it to his mom, and I was like, he got me. I just watched something scary. He really got me.
So do you normally like haunted house / ghost movies? Hauntings.
Okay, ghosts are... I really have a hard time with like ghost movies.
Okay.
I don't like people who don't look right or don't move right, and a lot of times I feel like, especially in more modern horror movies, the ghosts aren't just looking like regular people but kind of invisible.
Right.
You know, I was okay with Poltergeist. We'll get to the things that creep me out as we talk about it, but
Of course, yeah.
I did okay. But no, like I grew up watching, Casper, and I don't know what they're...
I mean, that's a very rough comparison because it's Casper : the friendly ghost. So
I know. But I don't know. I feel like there was kind of a resurgence in horror movies at some point when we were teenagers, like Haunting of Hill House. There was a remake or something. I remember The Frighteners. I remember...
Yeah.
I don't know. Not that I saw all of these. Sometimes I saw only parts of them, and I was like, "That's enough for me, thank you."
Right.
Like the Sixth Sense really freaked me out because like the ghosts had their injuries still. Like that kind of thing freaks me out when the ghosts are scary looking and not just like a regular person but invisible. Like Insidious. Insidious really scared me.
I love that movie.
It is really good. Like I mean, the tension and everything in Insidious is great. Shining terrifies me. Ghosts.
It's funny you mentioned Insidious because I remember the first time watching that being very creeped out because they do a very good job at the horror aspect. But there are nod, winks, and homages to Poltergeist, actually, in that series.
In Insidious?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say maybe I'll have to go back and watch it again now that I've seen Poltergeist, but maybe I don't want to. Maybe that's for, something for when my husband's around. Yeah.
When there's no children playing Jack in the Box outside your front window.
Peekaboo.
Yeah.
Jack in the Box. I don't know. What about you? Ghost movies?
Love them because they're scary, so I hate them, but I love them.
Right, yeah.
I feel like one of the OGs probably still gives me goosebumps is the original Amityville Horror. I feel like I could talk more about that, but that might come up in the future. So let's we'll put a cap on that. Insidious, Conjuring, which are obviously more modern, but I love those series as well. Some of the sequels aren't as great, but that's what happens with a franchise, right?
I actually just read an article about the third or the fourth Conjuring is out. The final Conjuring movie is out, and I didn't realize it was based on a real couple that were ghost hunters.
Have you seen none of these yet?
No.
Oh, why would you? Yeah.
Yeah, why would I?
Yeah, all of them are based on different cases of the Warrens, yeah.
Yeah, and they apparently were like hucksters at least according to the article I read, and they helped like perpetuate the Amityville horror story with the
Yeah, there's
family.
different angles from those cases, yeah, but
Okay.
they are all the basis of the Conjuring movies.
Yeah.
I mean, not
That much I gathered.
yeah,
Maybe one day I'll watch them. Maybe I
maybe.
won't. Here's the thing. I like a good ghost story, actually. I like a good myth, legend, whatever. I
Hmm.
don't mind being spooked. I just sometimes the imagery is too much for me. And then I'm awake at nighttime, worried that if I go walk into the hallway, something will be out there.
And that means the movie's done its job.
I feel like this all the time, though. It's just like, it's just like, why would I make it worse by watching something scary?
Gonna,
Look, I
yeah.
am 40 years old and still afraid of the dark, okay?
Hmm. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Throw a nightlight in the hallway.
I have one. I guess with that, we'll introduce our movie. Poltergeist, directed by Toby Hooper, released June 4th, 1982, rated PG, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make note that the story is by Steven Spielberg, who also was a co writer on the screenplay and a producer.
Well, if I can't direct, let me just write the whole thing and produce the whole thing and be
Oh,
on
no,
set for some of the takes. And
we'll get into that too.
oh, my bad.
It's okay.
Just making fun of Steven. He's got the grind.
There's a lot of lore around Poltergeist for various reasons, so we
Hmm.
have a lot to discuss actually.
Yes. If you have not seen Poltergeist, after what appeared to be an earthquake targeting only one house, the Freely family starts to experience some otherworldly phenomenon within their home. Things escalate quickly when a tree tries to eat Robbie and a closet sucks Carol Ann into it, seemingly making her disappear. A team of paranormal investigators and a spiritual medium get involved to help the family find and retrieve the lost Carol Ann. Unfortunately, Carol Ann isn't the only one there stuck in that realm. They're here indeed.
So this is my first time seeing Poltergeist. It's always been on my radar, and I actually had heard a lot of, like I mentioned, the lore around Poltergeist, which we'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about. But I don't know, it just never wasn't ever something I sat down and watched. And I am sure that my parents probably thought this was going to be too scary for us, and that's why it was never really a part of my childhood. But I don't
Well,
know. I think I had like a hocus pocus childhood and not a poltergeist childhood.
I had both.
Yeah.
Although I guess your parents were right because it scared you and you're not a kid anymore.
Well, it was
So,
just like never even. You're right. But it was just like, I don't know. It was never even brought up as like an option. Like, do you want to rent poltergeist? Like, I didn't even like, I don't think I was aware of its existence
yeah.
when I was a kid.
I don't know the how I knew of the existence. Probably saw it at a video store or something.
Hmm.
But first time seeing it for me, if I could recollect this correctly, I was pretty sure it was at my grandma's house. I'm sure, maybe rented it. Probably. Obviously, my grandma was there, but my mom and my sister, and we were just in the basement. I think we might have got the whole trilogy as a weekend rental for a fun family bonding experience.
Nice.
Can't remember my age, but not old, but not young. Maybe pre-teenish,
Okay. That's not too bad though.
but maybe it was younger. Who knows?
All right. Well, there's a lot to this background, so I'm just going to dive right in. Steven Spielberg had originally conceived this movie as a horror sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It was supposed to be called Night Skies. He apparently did not actually want to make a sequel to Close Encounters. He was just scared that if he wasn't involved, it would end up like Jaws 2 and all the subsequent Jaws that Universal did.
Fair.
Because as we've learned, they can just like go on without you because you don't own the story rights or the characters or whatnot. So in his original version, A small family, like on a rural farm, is attacked by aliens. And everything I've read about this is that they're supposed to be small gremlin like aliens, but one of them befriends a young kid in the family and kind of helps save the human family because they realize, I don't know, the kid's nice. I don't know. He based this off of a real incident in, I believe it was Southern Kentucky, where this family claimed that they had spent all night defending their house against aliens. It was
Oh,
in the
that sounds
19
familiar.
Yeah, it was in the 1950s. It's like they showed up at the police department one day and the police were more concerned that people had just been like shooting all night and potentially, you know, anyone around might return fire, whatever. They went to check it out. They only found evidence of bullet holes, like that would indicate that yes, they had shot through windows or whatever. I guess the agreed upon story is that they probably saw horned owls, based on the way the people described these like small aliens, the way their ears were on the top of their heads.
Hmm.
If you look at the Wikipedia, there's like a photo comparison with what the people said they saw and one of these owls, and like I kind of get it. It was the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter from 1955. Basically, agreed upon that these people probably just saw owls. They're this certain type of owl is known for aggressively defending its nest, so they think that maybe when the family felt they were being attacked by these creatures, the owls were swooping in to protect their nests. Apparently, that area in Kentucky like celebrates Little Green Men Day like once a year or something to
Okay.
commemorate this. But so Spielberg, based his Night Skies screenplay on this incident. You might have realized that some of these little tidbits I mentioned of the story sound familiar. Eventually, this got split into E.T. and then Poltergeist. The idea of one of the aliens befriending a kid obviously became E.T. The scarier aspect of like a family defending their home is what became Poltergeist. Also, kind of an inspiration for Gremlins, especially if you look at some of the artwork that Spielberg had conceived for these aliens. They're much creepier than like an ET kind of alien. Kind of look like the mean gremlins.
I feel like there's so many jokes I can make about Spielberg right now, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, all I've seen all three of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, four, five, six. Just looking at this list we're talking about right now,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's funny that he wanted to do a sequel to Close Encounters, and
Mm,
it turned into basically three other movies.
I
Like, why
know.
stop? Why stop at one sequel?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I guess with Gremlins too, you have that concept of like one of them being nice and befriending a kid,
Right, and
or
then
a kid.
defending your
Yeah,
house against the rest of them. Yep,
that
I
too.
totally
Yeah.
can see that.
Hmm. Also, Spielberg tried to get Stephen King to come on to write with him, but Stephen King was too busy.
He writes 5,000 books a year, so how does he have the time?
The funny thing is, when I read more into this, apparently Stephen King was traveling to Europe, but by boat. And so it was taking a really long time for them to correspond.
Wow.
So part of this was Spielberg being like, fuck it, I don't have time for this.
I mean, he's. I imagine him just sitting below deck writing his 5,000th novel. That's probably why he took this voyage, just like some little quiet time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Just like,
Was the carrier pigeon like sick that week or something?
right. It's just a little detail of the story I wasn't expecting because I would
No,
have, I
not.
would have, I would have absolutely had no problem believing that Stephen King was very busy without, like you said, needing a carrier pigeon to carry their mail back and
Yeah.
forth. So anyway, Spielberg at the time was working on E.T. He was busy as well. He he brought in Toby Hooper to collaborate on this. Obviously, Toby ended up being our director. But when he started meeting with Toby Hooper, he was more interested in the idea of a horror movie, like that side of the screenplay where a family has to protect themselves from some sort of unknown force. Makes sense considering he was brought on because Spielberg was very impressed with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which Hooper directed. So, yeah, as I said, Spielberg was working on E.T. He could not be involved in another production officially per his contract with Universal. I don't really know how one could conceivably direct two movies at once anyway, but I feel like if anyone would have, it would have been him. So,
I was going to say those exact words. I
so
envision a world where like he's just on set, but it's two sets and they're back to back to each other, and he's like directing one. They
yep.
cut. He turns around, directs the other one, and just a back and forth. And it's probably how he did it. It's probably how E.T., Poltergeist, Jaws. Maybe that was the boat Stephen King was on. I don't know. This man just doesn't. I don't understand how he does all this.
Right. Eventually, he brought on Michael Grace and Mark Victor to assist with the screenplay. This also seemed like it was originally for a separate project. Spielberg really wanted to remake this movie called A Guy Named Joe from 1943, which I have personally never heard of, but it starred Irene Dunn and Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy is a pilot in World War II. He gets shot down and dies. This is actually the movie we see them watching in Poltergeist, where the guy's like, it's a black and white movie, and the guy's saying something like, "Wait, I'm dead." Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is, so that is A Guy Named Joe.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he becomes a guardian angel for a fighter pilot who is still alive, and the alive fighter pilot falls in love with Joe's girlfriend from back when Joe was living. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Spielberg eventually would remake this in 1989. It's a movie called Always, starring Richard Dreyfuss. It also was Audrey Hepburn's last movie.
Hmm.
She has
Oh wow.
she's not top billed. I think she has a smaller role. Also, had never heard of this movie. Was very surprised to find that Audrey Hepburn was in it because I don't know. I don't think of her still being alive like in my lifetime at all.
Right. Yeah. I don't recall hearing about either of these movies, and it does
Mm-mm.
seem to me kind of weird that Hepburn was around when we were around. It doesn't make sense, like
Yeah,
in my mental timeline of things. But hey,
correct.
I guess I didn't know much of her very late work. Apparently.
Yeah, her extremely late work, right? Okay. So after discussing all this with these two writers, they told him they were pretty much only interested in this ghost story that he threw out there that is something he was also considering. So you basically have two writers and Toby Hooper that were like, no, want to do the scary one. Pretty much what happened.
That's a
We
lot.
will, yeah, I know. We're going to talk later about Spielberg's level of involvement because there's actually a lot of controversy around it. Like we said, he is credited as a producer. Apparently, he was a very active on set producer, but story for later. Originally, Poltergeist was given an R rating. Sounds like specifically due to the scene with Marty, peeling his face off in the bathroom. You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about? Okay.
Of course. Yeah. Of course.
Of course
What
it.
scene? What scene was that?
Yeah. Okay. Spielberg and Hooper disagreed. They appealed and ended up with a PG rating because we do have to remember PG-13 was not a thing for what, two
I think
when
2 more years.
2 more years? Yeah, 1984. Spielberg's argument was that the movie should be PG because, quote, the film is all threat and fantasy, no reality, no language, no murder, no nudity, no sex. My argument here is that every movie is fantasy. This one still kind of was scary.
Yeah. It. Yeah. I guess all movies are fantasy to
Mm.
some caliber. Yeah. Sure. But I think the threat is the kind of R-rated part, or
Yeah.
maybe the face ripping off. That would. I feel like maybe a kid
Hmm.
at the PG level maybe would not love that,
Right.
or some of the other ghostly images we see later that are, by today's standards, some of them are bad, some of them are actually, I think, pretty good.
Hmm.
Still, I mean, in comparison, the fact
Yeah.
that this is kind of like the anti-argument with I Know What You Did Last Summer, where they
Mm-hmm.
got rated R, like, oh, we're not sure, and this and that, and there's not that much gore, and but they're not Spielberg. Spielberg walks in like, listen, bro, I'm Steven Spielberg. This is PG, or it's nothing at all.
Yeah.
He likes to push those buttons. I mean, this is what the third, fourth Spielberg movie that's PG that maybe could have
Yeah.
been not.
Right. And apparently, in dealing with the MPAA trying to get this PG rating, he had told them, allegedly, told them something like, look, I know you need a rating between PG and R, and I'll help you figure that out. I'll help you lobby for that, but you have to give this one a PG for me. Because they were, I don't know if Spielberg was so much, but the studio especially was concerned that they wouldn't make their money back if it was an R, because then, less people could go see it.
Very much the discussion of Stand By Me, where they were like, well, we don't want to lose viewerships, but we don't want people to not go to a Stephen King movie because it's not
Hmm.
R.
Right. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I know. It's funny the discussions that people get into. According to this one interview I read, they were like, yeah, Steven Spielberg delivered. We got PG-13 a couple years later. And I came across quite a few articles that were basically something along the lines of Poltergeist PG rating traumatized a generation of children, including me, or something like that. And so it's like Spielberg got his way, but apparently there were lots of kids who couldn't watch a scary movie for years because they got introduced to Poltergeist way too early or something.
Yeah, that's probably me.
Yeah.
And then, like, we talked about Jaws, obviously.
Hmm.
In this background story for Poltergeist, you mentioned Gremlins, which is a not unscary Christmas movie,
Hmm.
but it is rated PG. So if you're going in there as a kid looking for family friendly Santa, you're not getting it. And
Hmm.
yeah, he did lobby for PG 13. Or was it lobbying or Temple of Doom, where he has someone rip a man's heart out of their chest and they're like, Steven, we're done here. We can't keep giving you these PG movies. And that was the one. That was the movie that made PG 13.
Right, right. Yeah, and it is funny as we're discussing this that like it's all still Spielberg, whether
Mm-hmm.
he lobbied for it or they kind of pushed it because of what was in his movies, still all Spielberg. But yeah, now that I've seen Poltergeist, like kind of feel like the guy peeling his own face off could have been the turning point as well.
Yes.
Knowing what the story always is about the turning point being, like you said, the ripping the heart out.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because just on the director they chose alone, I would have been like, "You're the Texas guy. We're gonna keep this at R." I've seen that movie.
Yeah, I have not seen I've seen like parts of it,
Yeah.
but yes, I know enough to be like this man's doing a PG movie. Okay.
Right.
Well, and I also can't help feeling like somewhere in there either Spielberg or the studio or someone still felt like they had a family movie because it was about a family being haunted. I feel like their wires got crossed or something about what they were actually making.
I feel the '80s. What a time to be alive. Because they're like, man, like you said, at the heart of every film is, I mean, it's technically fantasy because it is made up. Even if it's a biopic or something based off nonfiction, we're still making it up to entertain people one way or the other.
Right,
So it's
yes.
like if we in the '80s, you want a PG rating, say it's a fantasy movie about family. I mean, in that line of reasoning, Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw Massacre should have had PG because it's just about four friends hanging out in Texas. What a fantasy world they live in.
Oh no. Yeah. Okay. I do like that quote though from Spielberg that it's like, look, there's no language, no murder. And it's like, sir, but do you see all the other things that are going on here? It's not like they're fun.
No, no.
So
Spielberg was
anyway,
a lawyer in another life, I think.
right? I don't really have a lot of, pre-production stories, casting stories, because there's stuff we'll get into later. I did just want to point out that Craig T. Nelson, who plays the dad, Steve, and is it Joe Beth Williams,
I
who
believe
plays
so.
Diane, the mom, they were pretty much like newcomers. They had been in movies before, but not in large roles or anything like that. I believe Joe Beth Williams had been on Guiding Light. That was like her biggest like role
Okay.
before this, which is kind of impressive now that I've never seen her in anything else, and I was really impressed with her in this, like especially as a mom. Like this is definitely one that I'm sure would have been a totally different experience watching it like before I had kids and after. Just really impressive. And I feel like it's not always easy to make that jump from like soap opera actor to like actual movies.
Yeah, I looked her up, and there's nothing else I recognize her from. She kind
Hmm.
of reminds me a little bit of Sigourney Weaver, maybe. I don't know.
I could see that. I
Or there's
got
other
Sigourney
actors.
Weaver vibes.
Yeah,
Got
it's
a lot of
like
Ghostbusters 2 vibes that we'll talk about.
good.
Good.
Let's start the movie.
I can tell you one thing I did not expect was to start this movie and hear the national anthem playing. I literally thought I had turned on the wrong movie.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Well, especially because you don't see anything yet. It's just like a black screen.
Hmm.
So you don't realize it's the channel signing off for the night.
Yeah, I only remember that from this movie. I don't know if I'm old enough to remember that being a thing. I remember when there was still cable and they would sign off for the night, it would just go away and you either
Hmm.
have static like they're showing, or eventually mid 90s you just have just countless infomercials being played from midnight till 6 a.m. until the news came on.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember this specifically outside of this movie.
Yeah, I knew this was a thing, but I'm not sure how I knew that. Maybe from like that 70s show. I don't know.
Oh, could
Uh,
be.
but yeah, just was not what I was expecting getting into this for the first time. This dog just making its rounds around the house, like everyone's sleeping with food. What's happening?
Suburban summer life, I guess.
Yep. Why is this dog's name Ebuzz?
I don't know because it's a dog. I don't know.
It's a weird name, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the mindset that if you have children, give them, mostly regular sounding human names and then give all the fun names to pets. This is more
Yeah.
of a slight to celebrity children for the most part. But like, I wouldn't name my kid Ebuzz, but if I want, and
Mhm.
maybe the kid named it. I'm imagining one of the kids named it. I mean, we had some weird name pets growing up because we named the pets.
Okay. Yeah, fair. My son was really young when we got our dog, and everything he saw, he was like, let's name her that. Let's name her that. Like, onion was on the list,
Mm-hmm.
various toddler snacks like yogurt puff,
Okay.
or no, yogurt bite, puff, can,
Can. Yeah.
just anything he saw. He was like, that's a good name.
So yeah, I feel like that answers your own question. This is why
Sure.
this dog is named Ebuzz. It was
Okay.
probably Robbie or Carol Ann, is my guess.
Yeah. Also, that staircase looks tailor made for a horror movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being one beer in or half eye open, like asleep, going to the bathroom on that staircase. It looks dangerous. You have to be like fully awake and sober
Yes.
to, with all the lights on, to climb that staircase.
Yes. That's what I was thinking too, especially because you see the dad has fallen asleep in front of the TV. It's like not only kind of already a dangerous staircase, like for the children, also if you're sleepy, but then this staircase almost is like its own character in this movie, I feel.
Yeah,
And
at
it's
some
just,
points, yeah.
they're doing a really good job of making it look very looming and ominous,
But also very fancy and elegant too.
right? I don't know if I understood like this house. Which is the whole thing, right? Because we're in this like planned development. But yeah, the staircase made me think of almost like mid-century modern, kind of like the Brady Bunch style house. I don't
Oh
know if
yeah,
that okay.
yeah,
And but then when you see them in the kitchen, it's like old school suburban house. I don't know. Not necessarily stylized. the way the living room is.
Yeah, the staircase definitely is the centerpiece of the house, despite how dangerous I think it looks. The only other thing I can think of is like someone being announced and coming down in like heels and a ball gown. So I don't know.
No, yeah, when we see later, much later, when there's that one ghost who comes down the stairway, it's like, oh, this is why this stairway is here. Like, so speaking of that, almost immediately see Carol Ann wake up and go talk to the voices on the TV. I will tell you though, when she was holding her hands up to the TV and you can like kind of hear the static when she touches it, I can remember how that felt.
Yeah.
The old TVs like that. I don't remember a staticky TV giving my house this strobe like effect that we see throughout this movie. I was surprised at how well that worked for me and how creepy that was. Both the just even seeing the static, like this blank screen, as if it could be anything behind there, and then also the lighting that it casts everywhere else. Like I said, the strobe effect. I also could not help thinking, just I guess because of my age, of when The Ring came out, the American remake. And I did not see it in theaters. I saw it later, like at a sleepover. But I remember people saying things like, yeah, I fell asleep with the TV on and it was staticky when I woke up and I was terrified. And, obviously once I saw The Ring, that's when the girl crawls out of the TV, right?
Right.
But if you had grown up with Poltergeist, I feel like you absolutely already would have been scared of that.
In fact, I was, because I did see the American remake of The Ring in theaters, and they showed the static TV. I was like, I know bad things happen when TVs go to static. This is horrible.
Yeah, yeah,
They're always involving little girls.
yep.
If I woke up and my daughter or son, doesn't matter, was my little 5-year old was talking to the TV the way Carol Ann was, I wouldn't just like glance over my shoulder at my wife and be like, huh, ain't that something? I'd put a fucking sledgehammer through this TV. We're done.
Yeah.
We're a TV-less family from now on.
Oh, yeah. This actually made me think of when we first moved into our house. My son was 2, almost 3. And the first few weeks we were here, he kept telling me that he really didn't like it when the people came in his room to talk to him. And that was great because we just moved in here. And I was like, well, we have to leave now.
Yeah.
Yep. He apparently told my brother later that the people he was referring to were me and my husband.
Okay.
And I
I was
was
gonna say,
like,
do we have to
what
talk
if?
about this or?
No, but it was like, you could have saved everyone a lot of, or at least me, you could have saved me a lot of like stress and sleeplessness if you had just said, please don't come into my room to check on me at night, mom and dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he would talk a lot about the people who would come into his room at night. It was great. It was
Uh,
also really funny because our first house was like really old, like over 100 years old. And I don't know if I really believe in ghosts, but if anything was going to be haunted, it would have been that house,
Fair.
not my 1980s suburban build.
I don't know. Was
Well,
this
I don't know.
19?
Yeah,
Wait a
fair,
minute.
fair.
Hold on. This is the exact plot of this movie we were talking about.
Oh, fair. Okay. Um, yep. I have one other story for you. When my husband and I were first married, we rented a duplex and we were on the top floor. And uh, my husband would talk in his sleep sometimes, more so when he was younger. And one night I woke up and he had his eyes open, just staring at the ceiling. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And he does not remember this. He was apparently still asleep. But he's like, "The people in the walls." And I was like, "Excuse me?"
What?
And he's like, "The people in the walls, they come every night and I always miss them." And so he was like waiting for them so he wouldn't miss them. And he does not remember this at all.
You know, I understand now why you don't like horror movies.
'Cause
I
my
watch a
life is.
movie, I get scared, I go to sleep, I wake up, I go to work.
Yep.
You're like, oh, my husband's talking in his sleep with his eyes open about people in the walls. My son has people visit him at nights that he doesn't like. Our pets'
Yep.
heads are falling off. Oh, wrong movie, sorry.
Wait, what is
Um,
that from? Why can't I think of it?
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
It fits. It fits.
Yeah, it does.
Speaking of little birds, though, Carol Ann's little bird dies, and I love your little note about it.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I feel like happens throughout the movie is like her mom moves so slowly to flush this bird down the toilet that Carol Ann ends up seeing it. And there are a lot of little things like this where I was like, you're moving slower than anyone would ever move so that you can allow the next plot point to happen, you know?
Yeah.
And that was really getting to me. Like I couldn't not see it. And also when I found out that the mom was a soap opera actress, not saying this was her call at all, but I couldn't help thinking of in soap operas when people react to things for like a solid 10 minutes or whatever. and
Yeah.
and again, you're not moving fast on purpose so that the bad thing can happen or someone can walk in or whatever. So yeah, why is this mom like she's like presenting this bird because we got to wait for Carol Ann to pop in and see it.
Also, even as a kid, was always confused that she was going to flush it down a toilet.
Yeah,
Like, that
it's
doesn't
bigger
seem.
than a goldfish. That's
Yeah. I mean, it's just still weird to me. I guess they were trying to get
yeah.
rid of the evidence because we don't see the actual bird in her hand. We just see the shadow on the wall,
No, you
right?
see, you see her holding it up above the toilet.
At the end when Carol Ann walks in.
Yeah,
But the
at the
whole
end. Yeah,
slow
you're right.
moving thing, I think that was Toby like, okay, we want this really cool shadow on the wall. And it
Mm-hmm,
kind of
mm-hmm.
like is starting to build the little bit of tension. It's just a dead wet parakeet or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
these very lengthy movements that you mentioned, I feel is Toby's way of drawing out things unnaturally to build like your anxiety and make you feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Right. This bit where, the dad and his friends are trying to watch the game and the channel keeps changing because like the remotes are getting wires crossed with the neighbor. Is that a
Mm-hmm.
thing? Did this happen?
I don't remember this happening as a kid.
Okay.
Again, same thing with the Pledge of Allegiance. Like I just remember, or the national anthem on the TV. I just again remember it only from this movie, and it somehow feels believable. I don't know. It just feels like the way Steven writes, and like we've seen this with
Hmm.
ET and Close Encounters and things like that. It's just he has this ideal of suburban life in a certain aspect from like when he grew up or how he envisions it, and it's always very similar, if not the same. And that
Hmm.
makes me feel like it's real, like something he experienced from his own childhood.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess all I could think of too is if you were a kid watching this now, you'd be like, wow, is technology really that bad? Like, and there's also so much you'd have to explain to them with the channel going off the air. Like, there wasn't
Mm-hmm.
24-hour reruns or whatever. But even that, it's like cable's almost not entirely obsolete, but plenty of kids don't even have cable. So,
Well, to be fair, I remember watching older television shows on Nick at Night, and
hmm.
like there was no television remote. The kid would get up and turn TV on and off. And my dad would
Mm.
always make a joke like, "Oh yeah, well, we didn't have remote controls when we were kids. I was a remote control, ha ha ha!" Like so.
Yep, yep. Pretty sure my dad made that same joke. It did make me laugh though when the guys that are over to watch the game are like, "Who's this?" When Mr. Rogers comes on, like it's just very funny to me that there was a time where like people might not know who that was. I see your note about the parents smoking pot in their bedroom.
Well, that was my note basically, but it's kind of funny how Steven neglected to mention this in his argument for PG rating. It's fantasy. There's no deaths, no nudity. Parents are literally getting high in front of us.
I did have the thought about the rating when I saw this, like, oh, it's I don't know, drug use usually gets you a little more than a PG, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah,
But the parents just straight up are smoking pot,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
fine. But like, I guess we don't actually see it. We see them smoking something, and they're giggling, and there is a reference when they're putting Tweety in the cigar box because we're not flushing her anymore.
Hmm.
I didn't realize, like, as a little kid, when Carol Ann's like speaking on behalf of Tweety, we need to put a flower next to it smells funny. I thought because cigars smell funny. But
Yeah.
later you see that's where they keep their pot in the old cigar box. So that's the funny
Yeah.
smell she's smelling.
I did think it was funny that the dad was smoking pot while reading a book about Ronald Reagan.
Staying up on the
Just,
times.
yeah, right.
What
I
a
had
buzzkill.
read, I know, I know. Why is this what you would do? Whatever. The two actors, the parents, they improvised a lot of their scenes together. This one in particular, I read an interview with both of them where Joe Beth Williams, Diane, said that when Steve was like pushing his stomach out and sucking it in and doing like the before and after in the mirror, like that was totally improvised. And she was just cracking up like for real at him the whole time.
That's awesome because it definitely makes it seem like she's high as shit, laughing her ass off.
Oh, yeah. This is also when we're like sort of introduced to Robbie's like Robbie in general, I guess, but his fear of the tree outside, his fear of this clown doll. This bothered me so much why this clown doll even exists. Like, especially if he doesn't like it. It sits in a chair facing his bed. Like, who's it?
The only answer I can come up with is Robbie and Carol Ann share a bedroom currently because they're little,
Yeah, maybe it's
and
hers.
maybe it's hers. It's a creepy looking clown doll.
Oh, yeah.
I had read that Robbie's fear of the clown doll and this tree out in his yard stems from Spielberg's actual childhood fears. He apparently hated clowns, but also there was a tree outside either his bedroom window or at his grandma's
Hmm.
house. I can't remember which one it was that scared him. So it's in the script.
Yeah, I can understand the clown thing. I thought that it was kind of odd that he was scared of the tree, but then later I was like, oh, okay. Like, I'll give this one to you.
Before the tree tries to eat him, I do
Yes.
think it's kind of creepy. It looks like an old lady just staring into your window.
I kind of got that. Like, I kind of thought you could make out a face in some part of it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel that. But yeah, this poor kid is me, basically. He's scared of the dark. He's scared of storms, scared of like sleeping alone, apparently. I did think it was so funny that they do all this work to get the kids to bed and like the dad showing him how to count the seconds with the storm to make him feel better. And then the next
Hmm.
shot, the kids are in bed with the parents. It's like, yeah, I feel that.
I love that shot too because it looks so real. I
Hmm.
feel like the cherry on top of that sundae is Carol Ann is sprawled in a way where like her arm from like the elbow down is like across Diane's face, just like she like
Yeah.
turned over and whacked her right in the face during her sleep, and it just stayed there, and
Yep.
that made it feel so real to me.
Oh, yeah. It's like those memes of like, because our dog sleeps in our bed, like,
Hmm.
despite our best attempts to not have this happen. And she's pretty big. She's like 70 pounds. And it's like those memes where they get into the bed and number one, they expand like three times in size somehow. But
Yep.
also number two, they like are constantly like their limbs are everywhere. It's like you think it's going to be a nice little snuggly thing, but it's like, nope, dog's
Yeah.
going to like kick you in the face
Oh yeah.
with all of her feet.
Yeah. Kidneys, spleen.
Yep, yep. This is the part, right, where we see Caroline go talk to the TV again, and this is when the TV actually starts whispering, and we kind of, I don't know, have a little more of a window into things. I was into it until I saw the hand come out, and then I was like, man, that's cheesy.
Yeah, I didn't love that like now or then, but don't hate it either. It just I don't think we needed it. I think it was a little creepier. Like you don't hear like whispering per se, but like the music kind of is signifying it's communicating with her, and she's not just crazy talking to a TV.
Hmm.
But then like the hand ghostly image thing shoots up at the wall, and like
Hmm.
it almost seems like they're leaving the TV physically and coming into our world, I guess,
Hmm.
even though they're still in the other realm the whole time. But that's
Right.
when all the creepy things start happening.
Yeah, I think I tend to feel like things are creepier when they're not seen, especially the idea of there being disembodied voices. Like, that's creepier to me, but also it could just be the 80s-ness of these effects. Like,
A little bit of both.
Yeah. But there's this scene at breakfast, like you said, that's when things start happening. Robbie said something like he'll just flunk out of school because he doesn't have time to eat his breakfast or something. Like after they break his milk cup and all that, he's like, "Oh, I'll just flunk." But like, there's that. The older daughter walks outside, and all the construction guys digging their pool start hitting on her, and it's like so uncomfortable. And
Hmm.
then she does that silly like move where she gives him. No, she doesn't give him the finger, but she does a little kind of like up yours gesture.
Well, she gives him the finger
Does
eventually.
she eventually? And her mom's very proud of her,
Yeah.
or her stepmom, I think technically. I read something that in the novel it's cleared up that Dana is Steve's daughter from a previous marriage, and that's like how they account for the age difference or something.
Oh, that's weird and unnecessary. For however long I've been watching this movie, I just thought they had 3 kids.
Right. Also, I don't really know if I understand the existence of Dana's character anyway. Like, she's not in a lot of it, and you could probably have made this all work without her.
Right. I think it's to add to the that 2.5 dog white picket fence suburban life. I think
Hmm.
it's that, especially in that time frame. But it also makes sense she's not in the movie a lot because she's 16 and she has friends and she goes out to hotel rooms with hickeys on her neck and gets high. Is what, as an adult, I realize that's what she's doing.
Yeah. So yes, I get that. But also, I thought it was bizarre when the hauntings do really start and Carol Ann goes missing. The parents mention a lot that they don't want to publicize it, like they don't want to go to the media or whatever. But then, we see Dana's always staying with her friends. She says when something happens, like, I got to go stay with my friends, I got to go stay with so and so. They don't want this publicized. I'm just curious if Dana is telling her friends any of this because I feel like as a teenage girl, you talk about everything.
Sure.
She's obviously distressed. So, like, even if she's not telling them what's going on, like, what is she telling them?
If, as a 16-year-old girl, your friend came over distressed and says, the TV took my little sister and she's in the house, we can't find her, would you think she was like telling the truth? Like, would you be like, oh yeah, let me go tell a newspaper this story?
I mean, I feel like I would be telling my mom, like, maybe we need to call someone, like,
Sure,
doctor type
maybe,
of thing. Yeah.
maybe.
Like, obviously, I would not believe that. But,
Right.
yeah, my little sister's in the TV. Can I sleep over tonight?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And she probably, as someone who is 16, probably thinks, I can't say that to my friends because they're going to think I'm crazy. I
that's
just
fair.
can't be home because it's terrifying, which the parents love that idea. And eventually they ship off Robbie to grandma's house.
Yeah, poor Robbie, man. Robbie, all my notes about Robbie are just like, he is going to need so much therapy.
Robbie is to Poltergeist what Timmy is to Jurassic Park.
Yes. God, you're so right. Um, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So yeah, when all this does start, like you said, I do like how you mentioned it starts slow, like with the chairs moving around a little bit and you're not even really sure what you're seeing yet. The mom gets all excited and is, whooshing across the kitchen floor and she has Carol Ann do it. I did think it was funny she put the football helmet on Carol Ann first, but I feel like if this was happening and I didn't understand it, I wouldn't be like putting my kid in it. Did she just think it was some goofy thing with the earthquake at first?
I don't think so, because when Steve comes home and he shows her, and she's all like super jazzed about this,
Mm-hmm.
she, I don't want to say like more on the spiritual hippie side, but she had mentioned something about like there's a force, she feels it. And she's like really jazzed and saying how it's a good feeling, this like weird tingling sensation in your stomach. So I
Mm-hmm.
think she's more open minded to there maybe being some sort of spirit situation in the house, but not being afraid of it.
Yeah, that's true. Because you're right. She does say something to Steve about like be open minded. Remember when we were young and we'd believe in stuff like this or something.
That's true. Yes.
I did think it was so weird. They had this quick cut suddenly from this to them going over to the neighbor's house to ask them if they had experienced anything. it's just a really weird fast cut to the point where I thought my movie had skipped.
Okay, mine too. Glad you said that because maybe it was just an abrupt cut.
Yeah, the whole thing was weird because it was a really fast cut, and then Steve and Diane can't stop laughing about it, and I was like, maybe they're high? Like,
I
I don't
totally
know.
thought that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it turns out, according to the actress, Spielberg told them to pantomime that bugs were biting them. And, we see that, right? Because they're getting bitten up by mosquito. We see them like slapping themselves and they're kind of like laughing about it. And I guess my read on the situation was that they were trying to find a way to get out of the conversation or something, as if,
Hmm.
oh no, these bugs are biting me, gotta go in, bye. But no, Spielberg told them, well, there are probably some mosquitoes. So then when we got into slapping the mosquitoes, we were genuinely hysterical. So it's just more of their like ad libbing and feeling like their direction was silly.
That is some silly direction. Also, Steven, why are you directing?
Yeah, why are you here, Steven?
Get off the set, bro.
He will not get off the set.
He will not. He lives there.
Never ever.
That's actually his house.
Oh man. Okay.
That is such
Um
a weird scene, though. That could be totally cut. I also thought they were high. I think
yeah.
when I was younger, I thought maybe they felt ridiculous asking that, knowing they have some weird phenomenon in their house, and maybe are, like I said, nervous, and then felt stupid. Like, oh, are you experiencing ghosts? Oh no, it's just us. Ha ha ha! These bugs are biting me. Gotta go.
Yeah, part of me thought they would have gone over there more so at the beginning of the day, like when Steve was on the phone with someone asking if they had felt the earthquake, and he's like, no, I checked the news, I don't see anything. Because yeah, it's not like you could just Google, was there an earthquake last night or whatever. So I thought it was more that, or maybe confirming that it was ghosts, because then it would confirm like their house was haunted, maybe because it was them and not anyone else in the neighborhood that felt it. I guess this is when shit gets real, because this is when poor Robbie, this scary tree like breaks through his window and really does grab him, and then like eats him, starts to eat him.
Yeah.
Again with like the kind of soap opera stuff though. The dad runs out to save him, and I mean, already is like not doing a great job, no offense, but the mom is just standing there screaming, like just standing there screaming.
Mm,
And I understand, like, no one knows what they'll do in an emergency, I guess. Like,
yeah.
some of us might freeze. I just feel like, especially if you're already seeing the dad like struggling, you'd probably like get in there too.
See, I felt the opposite. I felt like with the dad struggling climbing the tree, maybe the mom thought that she would also not do so well. And it's almost
Mm,
sometimes it's a hindrance when you have too many people helping that aren't helping.
oh, maybe.
Also, she's like keeping the older sister from the
That's true.
situation,
Hmm.
which, of course, all the while, this is a distraction to get Carol Ann by herself.
Right, exactly. Carol Ann getting sucked into the closet. I will say throughout this point in the movie, like I really felt like all the imagery to me was more like aliens than ghosts. Like the glowing light and the static. I kept thinking of like Signs, the movie Signs, or maybe it was Contact. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I
A
don't
little
know.
bit of both, maybe.
Yeah, to me it just read as aliens trying to make contact rather than ghosts. Obviously not so much later, but
Well, it would make sense because literally it started out as a screenplay for that,
yeah.
but I never thought that because reading spoopy stuff as a kid and watching stuff like the X Files and whatnot, I can't say I know because I've never experienced it, but like that's a common theme where ghosts communicate via lights or the
Uh,
talking on the dead channels of TV or CB radios or whatever, like something where their frequency, so to speak, could be
oh, right. Hmm.
acknowledged. Again, I don't know that for certain. Just things I've seen and read about in fictitious tales.
I guess maybe part of it is like on the X-Files, whenever there was an alien abduction, there'd be a bright light.
Yeah.
And that's all I could think of. Or like with the static, like when you're trying to make contact. But anyway, the dad, the actor Craig T. Nelson, who played the dad, said that this tree that he had to climb, it was rubber, but they added thorns to it, and he was kind of like, "Guys, come on! Like, why?" And he assumes it was to make it look scarier, but they really were pointy and hurt. And he said he was very intimidated, like, to do this scene. And he was like, "You couldn't have just made them like soft, but made them look like thorns." And so this was, I think, safe to say, like, not his favorite scene to shoot.
No, probably not.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't understanding sort of the time jumps in this. It's like suddenly, we obviously we see that Carol Ann's gone and everything's been sucked into the closet. I really did it because I had never seen this. It got me when they were going through the closet and they see what they think is her covered with a blanket, and it turns out to be the clown doll. Like, just thought I was not expecting clown doll. That's all. I don't
I'm
know
glad I
what I.
got you.
Yeah, I mean, not like in a scary way. It was just like, okay, it's
No, that's
probably
what I mean,
her.
though. Yeah, I'm glad that worked because it worked on me as a kid, but I was
Yep.
hoping it would have the same effect on you. And I
Mm-hmm.
do love that scene too, or I love Joe Beth in that scene because that doll is about the same size as Carol Ann and all that stuff. I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, everything in this two children bedroom gets sucked in, including the mattresses and bed frames or whatever, and like they have to literally dig her out.
Right.
So the mom is assuming the worst, and like in just 2 seconds, like her everything about her emotions change, and she looks like she's ready to mourn her squished daughter.
Right.
And
Exactly.
then the blanket's gone, and like the sigh of relief and like the nervous laughter. Loved everything about it.
Mm-hmm. This confused me because it's like once we establish Carol Ann is kind of in the TV or whatever it is they think is going on, we just cut to her dad looking horrible and talking to a team of paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this has been going on for a little bit now, at least a few days.
When the chairs and stuff are moving before things get too real, I think very briefly, I forget who mentioned it, I want to say Diane mentions like should we like reach out to somebody about this in like it's a very subtle thing they mentioned earlier about reaching to someone who knows things about paranormal activity. But
Mm-hmm.
then, like you said, it does jump, which is fine. I don't mind the jumps because I don't need to see like day two, day three. Like we want
Right.
to get the
Yeah.
story going. I like Craig T. Nelson looks ragged as all hell. He just
Mm-hmm.
tells his boss that he's got the flu. Everyone in the house has the flu. We all got the same thing.
Yeah. I was kind of struck at how this team doesn't necessarily seem to know what they're doing, but also based on their conversations with each other, it doesn't sound like they've really encountered maybe a real ghost before or just something that's so big and obvious. Like, because it sounds like in the past, it's like, oh, I felt a cold spot, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
I got this blob on camera. I don't know. So it does very quickly seem like they're in over their head, though.
Which again, to me, makes it feel real, especially
Mm-hmm.
for the time setting. Because later the doctor she mentions like, oh, I actually was this professor of psychology or something like that. It's like I do this crazy little hobby. It wasn't something people really talked about or did. It wasn't something people
That's
believed
true.
in.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, like we still have what Mr. Bagan's a ghost hunter on TV, but like even then, it's just still like it's a very niche thing, and most people don't look at it as a real
Mm-hmm.
form of science, I guess. Um, it's very much in not the same light, obviously, but very much how the people in New York felt about the Ghostbusters.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
not the fact that they forgot that they saved the city. The first Ghostbusters, where they're like, this isn't real. You can't just, research and study ghosts or things that aren't there, or even if they're there, we can't see.
Mm-hmm.
So for these guys to be like so excited they're actually seeing these things and are a little bit over their head, make it feel real to me, but also makes the threat still there. It's not like they're just coming in like, yep, we figured it out. We can save the day, because they even have to reach out and get somebody else.
Right.
And then there's these, you know, qualms about that with the dad, and like, okay, this is getting kind of more like a circus sideshow. Like, we're getting these people that
Right.
think they can talk to the dead, and they don't even, she doesn't even have cameras or recording devices or anything that's at least showing some sort of scientific studies. She's just like, yep, I can just see the other realm and talk to these ghosts.
Sure.
Right. Exactly. Your response is exactly like, and you can't, for me, if the movie jumped from Carol Ann disappearing to that right away, I feel like the family wouldn't be willing to have their help. Speaking of Dr. Lesh and her team, she does admit that they've never really encountered anything like this before. They contact Carol Ann via TV static, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And when Carol Ann is talking to Diane and she's asking her to describe, what's going on, whatever, and she can't see anything, but she's like, oh, there's someone else here. And then you just hear like pitter patters of her like running back and forth like around the house. The way that whole scene plays out still to this day gives me goosebumps.
Mm.
Like, thinking of this little girl trapped somewhere and this some sort of mean monster. I don't know however you want to imagine it, but like, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't look good to me in my head. It's really scary.
Yeah. And later on is when we see it was like a ghost lady coming down the stairs. But then I
Yeah.
feel like when they play the recordings back, it's like multiple ghosts.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of little orbs almost.
So this is where I'm starting to get confused about why this is happening, because the doctor makes it sound like there are all these people who maybe don't know they're dead, or they don't want to cross
Mm-hmm.
over, either don't want to or don't realize they're supposed to. But then it seems like there's this one big bad that is keeping Carol Ann there,
Yes, that
in
is correct.
addition to all these other ghosts that are just, what, doing regular hauntings because they haven't crossed over?
Yes, essentially, yeah. They are ghosts apparently that lost their way for whatever reason. They didn't go into their afterlife, whatever version of that for
Mm-hmm.
them it is. But this other spirit doesn't want them to leave, and it's kind of using Carol Ann to distract them, because she obviously
Okay.
she's real, she has life form and essence, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know. But he is
The
using
thing that
her.
they suck out of her in Hocus Pocus.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
he wants that, but he also wants, think of like being at a party, all your friends are trying to leave,
I was
and
just
that
going to say, does he want friends? Does he want ghost
yes,
friends?
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
essentially, yeah. Okay, maybe I misheard this, but when at the end of like this bedtime discussion, when everyone's like annoyingly whispering because everyone's up, I don't know why they're pretending like someone's sleeping,
I know, right?
and they're like, "All right, Robbie, you should just go to sleep now. It's late." And he's like, "All right, good night, mom. Good night, dad." I swear to God, he says, "Good night, lady," to the
Yeah, he
doctor.
said he does. This made me think of, with you talking about the whispering, I had laryngitis once, and every time I talked to my son, obviously, like, it was a whisper because I had laryngitis, and my son's like, "Oh, I didn't know we were whispering," and then he started whispering back to me.
That's this whole scene, yeah.
Yeah, I am up to three like serious incidences where Robbie's really going to need therapy. Like
The tree,
tree, his sister being sucked into the TV or whatever, and then
yeah.
the like seeing this big ghost descend their stairs.
You had mentioned the stairs kind of being like almost like another character, and in
Mm-hmm.
some aspects, I kind of felt that way with our camera movement and how it's
Okay.
used to create tension. A lot of times, it's just a really slow tracking shot towards the
Mm-hmm.
actor or subject, and usually a lot of things aren't happening yet. At the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, too, you mentioned with the flushing of the bird.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just another way to create tension, even when there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're always on edge. You don't know, why is the camera moving slow? Why is that lady moving slow? Why is everybody whispering?
I could see that. For me, it was creepier at the beginning of this scene where, like, the stuff they have set up, like they have their own camera set up and everything, starts moving toward the stairs, like on its own,
Yeah.
like turns toward the stairs. And I still feel like everything, all the lead up is creepier to me when you don't know what's going on, you don't see what's doing it. versus when you actually see the ghost. And it, like, again, it might just be because like some of the effects like obviously look dated at this point. For me too, I also think like disembodied sounds are like scarier.
I can go either way. It doesn't ruin it for me to see, like, we'll call them the nice ghosts come down the stairs.
Yeah.
Um, but it also, I don't think I needed it. It would have been cool to see the camera, which is apparently tracking some motion it sees that we cannot see, move, and we still don't see it. Because to your
Mm-hmm.
point, like, it's scarier
Right.
not to know. Or maybe if we didn't see it, but we saw in the foreground or even just another shot of the monitor and it picked it up, but we, from the family's point of view, can't see it on the stairway.
Now that you mention that though, what is the point of this scene? Like, because you said these nice ghosts, I don't really care about them. Like, are these the people who like are buried under the house?
Yes,
So what's the point of them like walking around? Like, I don't know. I don't.
that I couldn't answer. I don't know. It's just I think they had some technology they wanted to use with their effects team, and they said, "Hey,
Okay.
uh, let's do different kinds of ghosts. We've got a tree. We can do some nice, very like ghost of Christmas past type ghosts, very light and like almost like angelic,
That's true. It is. Yeah.
and
Um.
then later we'll do some fucking scary shit.
But yeah, this brings us to our face in the bathroom scene that apparently got them their R rating originally. I watched the movie first without doing really any research, and all I could think of watching this man pull his face off in clumps was like, how is this PG?
Yeah,
Like,
that was
I
scary as a
under,
kid. As
I
someone
mean,
who watched it, who shouldn't have watched it during PG, like I was the age of PG watching, like oh, this is kind of creepy and gross and scary.
yeah, that scene alone, because it really, I feel, ramps everything up. Like to this point, you just saw like a scary tree and like you kind of saw some ghost stuff, but it wasn't necessarily scary imagery, I guess. Like you said, the ghosts are very, very Ghost of Christmas Past type of thing, not really scary so much. But this is, it's like going 0 to 60. Like I was
Hmm.
not expecting any of this. I don't know, man. It was just a lot. And the whole time, for me watching this the first time, like obviously I am an adult, but I was like, oh, it's like, oh, we're doing this. Like it's still going. Like more, like I don't know. I was
Yeah,
very shocked, and then more so just shocked at the whole PG of it all.
right. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, it's like a glamour, if you will, like from the craft. Like something happens
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and he like shakes it off, and it's like, oh, his face is still there.
Yes,
Um, but that assistant doesn't come back. He's like fucked up. He's like, nope, I'm done. That freaked me out too much.
I don't blame him.
From what I understand, our not director was the hands that were helping tear the chunks off the face, the prosthetic head.
Oh wow, okay.
That's what I read. I don't know if that's true, but
Mm.
our not director was there now doing special effects.
He's everywhere.
Yeah.
You have Did you ever watch Ted Lasso?
No,
All
unfortunately.
I can think of is there's a soccer player named Roy Kent who's like an older player. Like he's been in the league for a really long time. And whenever, like, his little song that they chant whenever he scores is, he's here, he's there, he's every fucking where.
That's Steven Spielberg.
Yep. But anyway, yeah, I like the little line of dialogue we get from Dr. Lush where she's just like, Marty's not coming back. And that's like all we ever hear
That's
about
it.
it. That's
Yep.
it. Like Marty just went through this like horrible experience and we don't even like really see him recover or anything. It's just like, oh, Marty's not coming back. And us as the viewer are like, no shit, Marty's not coming back. Marty's going to therapy.
Marty's going to therapy.
Marty's
Marty
gonna
is
have a mental
retiring.
breakdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, just what the hell at Robbie being put in this taxi alone. It just looked so sad. Like,
Very
because
sad.
it's just this short little kid kind of looking at his parents like, I can't believe you're making me do this. And Like, can't believe I'm being sent to ride to grandma's house alone and all this. Like, when I've seen and experienced all this, like, really scary stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, in their defense, that's probably not murder all our children. Let's just send the ones that are still of this world away safely. The
Hmm.
dog goes with him.
I know. I did at least feel better about that. This is right about when my dog started growling at nothing. So I was like, it's great. Especially because, like, we see throughout the movie, the dog kind of, like, knows something's in certain places. So
Oh yeah,
this is when Steve's boss comes by and he's like, "Hey, let me take you for a ride. Let me show you where we're building the new developments." And, like, surprise, it's on a cemetery, like a really decent sized cemetery
yeah,
too.
yeah. Up on the
Um,
hill.
right. And this is when I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So his boss is like a Muppet villain oil tycoon, right? Like,
Yeah,
just
real
building
estate
on a
tycoon. Yeah,
cemetery, money. Yeah, that kind of a villain. But, obviously he makes a point, or he mentions, we've done this before. Like, we've moved the cemetery.
and Steve goes, "What?
Right?
You did what?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're living on it." What?
Yeah. I feel like Steve should have been putting some puzzle pieces together there that he's
I
maybe
feel like he
not.
was. I think he
Or,
was.
okay. Thought maybe he was just, like, too sleep deprived. I don't know.
I think he
It,
was putting him together, but the facts are kind of jarring, and he's just like, I would
mhm.
say, in shock. Like, wait, this is happening because of you? Because you were lazy? You did this thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I felt.
I guess my thinking here was, like, number one, it would probably cost so much. Yes, I know the guy said they're, like, moving the cemetery, so you assume bodies too, but, like, even if he really was just moving the headstones, like, oh my gosh, like, the time and money involved, like,
Yeah.
is it worth it?
I think
But
at one point he's just like, yeah, they're just bodies.
yeah, I guess this kind of gets into the issue I had with this movie is I feel like if it was a ghost story in terms of, like, we're haunting your house because you built it on a cemetery and, like, we're mad at you, to me that's straightforward and, like, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this whole presence of the beast, I think they call it, like that head ghost, that big bad we were talking about, that throws it off for me.
Yeah.
It just feels like a little too much to follow, and, like, I don't understand where it came from if it's not part of this whole issue about building the houses on the cemetery.
I don't have an issue with it, but I've also been watching it for a very long time, so I'm used to these plot points.
Right.
I feel like though it could have been streamlined and like these ghosts are angry because your house is on their gravesite, their final resting
Right.
place.
Hmm. Yeah, and that, I think that's the what I was looking for. It would have been more streamlined because the whole, I mean, we'll get into it, but the whole ending with everyone, like, popping on the ground, like, I love that. That worked for me. That was
Yeah.
fun and creepy and made sense to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, to be fair, we don't know if all these ghosts are, as we're calling them, nice ghosts. We just seen some of them that look nice. I feel
I
like there
guess,
are
yeah.
some of them that are also not happy, besides the big bad one. But I feel like there's just different levels of these ghosts. Some are like, whatever, say la vie. Some are like, what the fuck? And then there's other guys like, no, come play with me. I need friends. And yeah, I don't know if we need all that.
Can you imagine a ghost sitting around like, "C'est la vie"?
Yeah, that was life.
Jeez. Um, okay, so this is when suddenly Tangina's brought in because, like,
Mm.
the team they've hired is like, look, we're in over our heads, right?
She comes into the house and she just like walking around, feeling it out, as you do.
Hmm.
And as I mentioned earlier, like there's levels of which the family is willing to believe and participate in, even though they know they're hoping that their child is still alive because they can hear her running through the house, but physically he's not there. So I feel like, to me, the sky is the limit of what they should be able to comprehend and believe or are willing to. But
Hmm.
for some reason, Steve doesn't think that Tangina could speak to the spiritual realm. I think maybe Steve thinks she's a grifter. so he kind of gives her a hard time. And she's a very short lady, and he makes some sort of like, I didn't know we were going over the rainbow for this one or something like that, and counting it as my Oz reference, even if it was mean.
I did catch the little Oz reference, like to her being a munchkin or whatever. And I really did think it was funny when Steve was trying to talk to her, like silently, telepathy, whatever. But I also thought, I guess you're right. Like, what if this woman was scamming them? But I also felt like, wouldn't you be desperate enough? I mean, you've probably seen already like so many things you never thought were real. I don't know. I think at that point I'd be like, sure.
Well, I guess there's that. As my initial reaction is like, yeah, there's nothing you can't believe, but maybe
Hmm.
there's also the real fact, unfortunately, that often people take advantage of people in their most desperate of
Of
needs.
course. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
without any of the science stuff, as I mentioned, like
Hmm.
any equipment or anything, like, oh, you can just talk to ghosts now, huh? Sure you can. Only you can hear. Sure you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, desperate times, people come out of the woodwork. But you can look at it in either way. I think Diane is more of the, as to use her words, the open mindedness, and Steve's a little hesitant to just go on believing this, even though
Hmm.
they talk to their daughter through the TV.
Right. Right. So I feel like Tangina's monologue is, I guess I don't know how else you would get this explanation of what's going on. It was so much telling instead of showing, but I also understand, especially because we don't get to see the realm that Carol Ann is in and all these ghosts. I guess, like, how else would you really have been able to explain all this to us as viewers about what's going on?
Two things. One, I definitely agree. There's a lot of telling versus showing, and we've mentioned before we typically like the other way around. But for me, this works. Mainly because we don't get to see the other realm, but I don't think at this point I need to. I think it's scarier not to see it. Kind of like we mentioned, the ghost coming down the stairs. Didn't need to see him. I'm not mad, but less is more sometimes, even though she's just really talking a lot. But it's a cool moment because this actress gets to give this really cool monologue, and she's moving around the house and doing it, and literally pulling the other actresses down to her level. It's just a funny line, like, "Oh, can you come down here? I'm going to get whiplash looking up at you." And I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah.
But then, like, and she kind of further explains the ghosts that are confused and maybe slightly angry versus like the mean bad we've mentioned. But when she starts talking about that, it always gives me goosebumps. I'm not a really big religious person, but there's a lot of religious undertones that are creepy, and the way she describes this character, and then they she mentions that they refer to him as the beast versus like to Carol Ann, it's just another little kid, and it's confusing her and lying to her. And I think there's that part too where like their daughter is being manipulated by something that's just constantly, it's this evil spirit constantly like giving her these lies and
Hmm.
probably scaring her away from like coming back home.
Yeah, I think you're right though that a lot of this did work because especially her character Tangina is like there's something unsettling about her and you're like, at least for me it was like I don't know if I can really trust her. I don't know if she's also kind of creepy sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But you bring up religion and that brings me to the next point I had about this when the she makes the parents promise that they'll do whatever it takes even if it goes against their belief system or and then specifically she says your beliefs as a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And then their big thing basically is that they have to lie to her to get her to go where they need her to go, like lie to her saying like the mom is in the light or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the mom, this, it killed me how she's like, we never lie to her. No, I can't do this. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, I would be actually totally fine saying whatever I needed to
We
get
got
my
candy
daughter
and toys.
back.
Come up with this bitch. Let's go.
Yeah, like if all I had to do was be like, yes, walk toward that thing. And if it makes you walk toward that thing, sure, I'm in
Yeah.
it. Because also, if it brings her out, like, she's going to see you anyway. I don't know. It
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
this moral thing like killed me. They're like, we never lie to her.
Yeah.
Um,
Although, like an hour ago, you were gonna secretly flush Tweety down the toilet.
that too. Yeah, good
Yeah.
point.
I think because in the monologue earlier, where Tangina is saying that this evil spirit is appearing as a child and lying to her and trying to deceive her. For me, a scene later, like, yeah, maybe that line's a little hooky, like, oh, we never lie to her, but I think I would be scared to maybe also now lie to her. And then if whatever happens doesn't work,
Yes. Hmm.
she's still there, and this creature thingy that's been like manipulating Carol Ann is now like,
Mm,
see, your parents are liars. That's how I felt.
okay,
Like
yeah.
oh, I never lie. I don't want to lie because like why start now when I can't even see her and she's also scared, as in the mom. And they're
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
helpless. I do love in that same scene where she's like, someone yell at her, who's the scarier one? And like start arguing like, oh, we don't yell, we don't spank. And Tangi's
Yeah.
like, do you want to see your daughter or not? Fucking yell her, Steve.
Yeah.
But but it felt so real. Like
Yeah.
in this situation with like, oh no, we don't spank my kids, we don't do this, and she's like, I don't give a shit what you do.
Yeah. Like there are
Yeah.
bigger problems right now, for
Hmm.
sure. You could like apologize to her later for lying to her.
Yeah.
But I did really enjoy uh like they set up this thing where if they go through the closet, they can somehow come out through the ceiling into the living room. I
Yeah,
don't know
they
how they
found
figure
the
this out,
I
but
forget earlier a bunch of old timey jewelry and shit come out of there.
oh right. I forgot about
After we
that.
see the ghosts, the Christmas past looking ghosts, after we see them, that happens. And they
Right.
assume if that's the exit, the closet is the
Hmm.
entrance.
Right.
Before we move on, though, in that scene where she's like, yep, Diane's yelling about lying to Carol Ann in
Hmm.
the hallway, another example of, well, the whole movie really is an example of Jo Beth being awesome. But this
Hmm.
scene, I really loved. The emotion was raw. I don't
Hmm.
have kids, but I felt for her. I love that when she does it,
Hmm.
she like looks over her shoulder. She's like, I hate you for this, because she's just like a mess lying to her kid and also
Yeah. And doesn't know if it's
terrified.
working, like you said. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Jo Beth. I wish I had seen her in more things.
Yeah, that's what I thought throughout the whole movie. I thought she was amazing. Like, I never had a problem believing her.
No.
It wasn't hokey, it wasn't over the top, even when she really is falling apart. Like, I never had an issue with her being believable.
Yeah.
But so they set up their little, I don't know, entrance exit thing that they've
Hmm.
discovered. I did think it was really funny when, they got the ropes set up and Tangina was gonna go in, I guess, to get Carol Ann, and then Diane's like, "No, I'm going. I'm her mom." And Tangina's like, "You've never done this before." And Diane says, "Neither of you." And Tangina's face just drops, and she's like,
Yeah.
"You're right. You go."
I love that scene. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's also very poignant. It makes sense. Like, she's in this world and she's scared. And why would it make sense for this other thing to come
Yeah. Other
through? And
adult. Hmm.
yeah, before that, they're testing to see if their hypothesis is correct. If you go in the closet, you come through the ceiling. And oh, it's not Marty, it's Ryan, the other
Mm.
assistant to Dr. Leash. He takes a couple tennis balls and it's his handwriting. So he writes on them and they throw it through and he
Hmm.
checks it. It's like, yeah, it's one, number one came through. It's my writing. They throw the second one and he catches it through the ceiling. His line is, he's just like, kiss my ass. We got number two.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out Ryan's line.
Yep. I just said that I never thought the mom was hokey at all or over the top, but it little over the top when she like dramatically kisses her husband before she goes to the into the portal and it's all like backlit. But yeah, so they come out of the ceiling, her and Carol Ann. Are they covered with the slime from Ghostbusters too?
I was hoping you'd ask that. I have no answer, but I was, because that's what I thought of.
Hmm. I mean, that's all literally all I could think of. But we're good. Carol Ann's home. I guess all the other kids come home. They're seemingly like moving out of the house in the next scene.
Yeah, why
Like,
wouldn't
I
they?
mean, yes, why wouldn't they? Okay, but
But
Steve has to go to work at night. I don't know. I mean, he's like getting things from his office, sure, but I really didn't think he was going to be gone that long at all. And then Diane decides to go dye her hair and like take a nice bath while her two youngest kids are in the room where the portal was. And I understand like they maybe, I guess they think the danger is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I would never feel comfortable leaving my kids alone in this house again. Especially like you're already moving, you're already getting out.
Yeah.
I was just surprised at this.
I
Um,
mean, if we overthink things like we do,
like we do.
yes, 100%. I'd be like, you can go to work. We're just gonna meet you at the motel. Like the movers can come get this shit.
Yeah.
I will meet you there.
I guess what I was confused at too is I think she says to Dana, she says to one of the kids, like, your father wants to sleep at the hotel tonight, which understandable. But then she tucks the other two into bed. I assume, I get it. Like, it's getting late, whatever. Like, please go lay down because your dad isn't back yet from his office excursion. But I would never be in that room.
Right, right. No, I get it. I get when we think about things too literally in
Mm-hmm.
ruined movies. That makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. First time watching it, how I remember it, because I wasn't, this age now where the logic is
Yeah.
flowing. I felt, as in which I think we're supposed to feel, that to quote Tangina, this house is clear, and like it's supposed to be happy, safe ending,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. We get more spoopy stuff.
Right. Still, this whole scene with Diane, like in the bath, like you mentioned before, with the way the camera moves, like something's there that you
Mm-hmm.
can't see. It just kept getting Ghostbusters 2 vibes, like when Sigourney Weaver is like, getting the bath ready for her baby, and she's kind of like walking around. You see her like walking around the bedroom, like undressing and stuff, and then eventually the slime is that's when it comes out of the faucet.
Mm-hmm.
But I all I could think of was Ghostbusters 2. So poor Robbie, like yet another instance of God, he's gonna need so much therapy. Um, I knew something was up when I saw that, they're packing up their house, right? But this clown is still sitting on a chair facing Robbie's bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the clown is not there anymore. And suddenly has really long arms and is like strangling him
Yep.
or trying to drag
Yep.
him. I don't remember. But
Both. I think both.
both, all of it. Yeah. Again, I like this bit with Diane when she's like stuck going up the wall, stuck on the ceiling. I like the well, I also feel like sometimes we don't get as much of what I thought a poltergeist was, literally, like in terms of them like moving things and like just like making things happen. So I thought that was fun that we really see it like messing with like physically with a person. But also, I had found out that they filmed this by having a static camera on a rotating set. It was the same setup that if you've seen Royal Wedding where Fred Astaire dances on the ceiling, that sort of thing. Apparently, poor Jo Beth Williams got really beat up though. She said the poor cameraman had to ride the thing like a Ferris wheel. He was strapped in, and several times he had to get off and go throw up because it was literally making him physically sick, but he carried on. And when I got off after a few takes, I said, Steven, I'm bleeding. My elbows and knees are bleeding. And he said, That's all right. We can just wipe the blood off. It'll never show. And I said, Oh, I feel much better now. Thank you. I had to laugh.
Steven, what are you doing there?
Sure sounds like maybe Steven Spielberg's doing some directing in this scene.
No.
Do
It is a
it.
cool scene though, where she is like you said, the static camera and
Mm-hmm.
the room rotates, but obviously we don't. To us, it's staying still. And Diane is rotating. It was when I was a kid. I was like, "Oh, that's so cool!
Yeah.
How'd they do that? That's so neat."
Mm-hmm. Um, the actress also pointed out that because of her outfit, because she's basically wearing like an oversized t-shirt and underwear, there was nowhere for them that they could hide padding for her. So that like she really was getting beat up by this rotating set. How does she end up outside in the pool? I don't even remember now. Oh, she's going to get the neighbors?
trying to get help, and
Yeah.
she's yelling over the fence, and it's raining. Of course, again,
It's
it's always
always
raining.
storming. Hmm.
Yeah, that's how you know the poltergeists are not gone because it's storming again. The pool is not a pool yet. It is just a hole in the ground. Mud gets
Hmm.
slippery. She falls in, and that's basically how she gets into this pool, which is just rainwater.
Rainwater and
Dead people.
yeah. This is like anytime I've read anything about Poltergeist, like this is the still that they always use is her like face to face with a skeleton, terrified in the mud, and I never really understood what she was in.
Yeah, it's
So
fair.
yeah, so now I know.
So these skeletons, we're presuming, are the bodies of the ghosts because they live on top of their final resting spot. In the scene where she's in the future pool,
Hmm.
scrambling to get out, there's a bunch of skeletons that pop up. They
Hmm.
apparently were real human skeletons,
Hmm.
and they did not tell Joe Beth this until after the fact. From what I understand, our actual director, Mr. Toby, he said something about like it was cheaper to get real skeletons than to make the prosthetic ones for the water scene because there's other skeletons I
Hmm.
think earlier or later that are props, but these
Okay.
ones specifically in the muddy pool were real human skeletons that were it was cheaper to use the remains of people. I don't know how you sign off on that. Not just for the fact that there's a woman swimming in the water with them, but like
Hmm.
if I'm an organ donor,
Like,
I guess does
where'd
that mean
you?
my
Yeah.
yeah, does my skeleton gets to be like an extra in a movie? And if so, can I get credited?
Right. Yeah, I had that thought too. Like, where'd you get all these?
Yeah, Mr.
They're
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, man, where'd you get these skeletons at?
that's all I could think of is like if you donate your body to science or something, is this like actually a potential use for it? You could be a movie extra. Yeah, so you are correct because Jo Beth Williams, she was interviewed by Vanity Fair. This is her quote. I always assumed that the skeletons were made by the prop department. A few years later, I ran into one of the special effects guys and I said, "You guys making all those skeletons, that must have been really amazing." He said, "Oh, we didn't make them. Those were real." But I felt so bad because, like you mentioned, she didn't know. In that quote, it makes it sound like, she didn't know for a while, like years after the movie came out. And the Vanity Fair author said something like, even now her voice kind of hitches when she talks about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like,
Right.
talk about needing therapy. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Supposedly, though, at the time that they were filming it, she was really scared about being electrocuted because there were so many like big movie lights and the industrial fans, like to make the wind and everything. And I guess like she just has always had a fear of, like water mixing with electricity. This really bothered her. So Spielberg had to get into the pool with her. Like she said, he put on waders and got in the pool and stood there and was like, "See, it's good." Like, and he stayed in the pool for a couple takes so that like he was being like, "Look, I'm not going to put you in like any danger. I wouldn't put you in a situation I wouldn't put myself in." And she thought that was very kind of him, but also, why are you there, Steven?
Well, hey there, Steven.
But yeah, so this is when all the skeletons start popping out of everything, right? She eventually saves the two younger kids. But I really like this when like more of the skeletons are popping out of like the floorboards and stuff. Like to me, that's like this is the kind of like creepiness that I think is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, like we mentioned earlier, it's more straightforward to me. Like you built the house on top of a cemetery and they're mad at you. Like that this all made more sense to me, but I enjoyed like the coffins popping open and
Oh yeah.
everything. I did like when Dana finally shows up and she's just like screaming like, "Dad, what's happening?" And she won't get in the car. I literally thought they had left her because she wouldn't stop screaming because I did not see her get in the car.
I love Robbie's like, Dad, go, just drive, Dad, and she's still not in the car yet. Like,
Oh yeah,
Robbie,
well
Robbie, you
exactly.
savage.
Right. Um but again with the kind of soap opera like his Steve's hands are shaking so bad he can't get the key in the ignition and like
Mm-hmm.
actually get going, and obviously everyone is understandably terrified. Just little things like that well, even when he gets home he pauses a bit too long in front of the house,
Yeah.
like, and it's like, oh, you're a bit too shocked so that other things can happen. Like, I don't know. I kept
Yeah.
feeling like there was a lot of that going on in this movie. But I did like when he grabs his boss and is yelling, you moved the headstones, didn't you? You didn't move the bodies. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I always think of Craig T. Nelson from Coach, the TV show, because like
Yes.
that's what I grew up watching him in. So it was just I really enjoyed seeing him in something like this. And like we've said, like both the parents were great.
And then the house implodes. It's like kind of blips into nothingness.
Yeah, kinda. I really enjoyed them getting to the Holiday Inn and getting the TV out of the room.
Yeah, that's that's a great bit. They get into the
Hmm.
room and then it opens back up and he just pushes the TV on wheels out pretty aggressively and slams the door. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I wasn't expecting the door to open up again. I liked that a lot. Then you get creepy children singing on the closing credits.
Yep. And if you
Hmm.
watch all the way to the end,
Which
they're
I did.
laughing.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah, you know what I really hate in scary movies is ghost children. Any
Hmm.
kind of creepy child. That is my ultimate. Like, I cannot handle it. So, yeah, that was like honestly, the laughing children in the credits was probably the worst part for me. Do you have any other thoughts to add before we get into the legacy a little bit?
I noticed this time around there was not a lot of music used. When it was used well, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion. Like, there's a lot of scenes that you realize how quiet it is when they stop talking and the room is just allowed to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a lot of the effects don't hold up, but the ones that do, I think, work well. But also, the if you're looking at it just from an effects point of view in 2025, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it looks cheesy, hokey, but the whole movie still has that tone of 80s, the quality of the film, the style. So it still works for me,
Mm-hmm.
but some of them I thought looked really cool. Like now, like the rope being going up to the ceiling and but just stopping,
Mm.
and they
Yeah.
even show it from a high angle, and it just you see like that. I don't know, the exit of the portal, kind of, which is
Mm-hmm.
not the greatest looking thing, but like the rope's like cut in a way to make it look like it's going through into something else.
Mm-hmm.
I think that still looks cool. The rotating set with Diane is cool.
Mm-hmm.
At the end or towards the end, with when Diane's still just in the house and the kids, like after they think it's clear,
Mm-hmm.
and she's running towards the doorway and the hallway somehow like elongates itself. She has to run
Mm-hmm.
to that, and they do kind of like that reverse dolly zoom. That
Mm-hmm.
looks cool.
Yeah.
And there was this like weird ghostly skeleton thing. This after she falls on the steps and goes back up.
Oh, that's like stopping her from getting in the room, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah. And like
that looks cool,
growls at
really
her.
cool. Yeah, I thought that
Mm-hmm.
was pretty cool. That was
Mm-hmm.
like Ghostbuster level, like effects,
Mm-hmm.
the good ghost, like the not the friendly ghost, but like the good quality ghost. It looked like
Yeah.
that to me.
Yeah.
I thought that still looked. I was surprised watching, like, oh, that still looks pretty damn cool.
Yeah. For me, the stuff flying around the room definitely looked hokey, but like
Yeah,
it's like just the time it was made. You can't really do much about it. But like the specifically like when that light bulb screws itself into the lamp, I was just like, okay, that did not age well. But
I
anything else?
have a note that says if Rachel doesn't point out the pink goo, mention it.
Oh, I noticed it.
Okay.
Do you realize how many times I watched Ghostbusters too?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I believe you.
All right. Well, why don't you kick off the reception of Poltergeist?
Well, in terms of dollars, it
Hmm.
was a commercial success, earning over $76 million in the US, and it was the highest grossing horror film in 1982, but eighth overall, which I think
That's
is
crazy.
pretty impressive. And
Yeah.
I don't think like horror movies are as big as they currently are in 2025.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And this is a PG film. It was selected by New York Times as one of the best 1,000th movies ever made, and it was ranked 84 on the American Film Institute's 100 Years, 100 Thrills list, as well as listing They're Here at number 64 in the American Film Institute's 100 Years, 100 Movie Quote lists. It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards for Best Score, Best Sound Editing Effects, and Best Visual Effects. Ironically, lost all 3 to E.T.
Yep.
Interesting. So Steven spent just a little bit more time on the E.T. set, I guess.
Yep.
It was nominated for some other awards and won a bunch of other awards. The ones I really want to kind of look at right now, the Saturn Awards. Poltergeist won 3 for Best Horror, in the category for Best Horror Thriller, Best Makeup, and Best Supporting Actress. This is Zelda Rubinstein, who played Tangina. And it was also nominated for Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Music, which I thought was weird because I just pointed out I didn't think there was a lot of music in there.
Yeah.
They did kind of have like a little poltergeisty theme they threw in here and there, which was like light and whimsical and made you feel safe, and then bad stuff happened.
Right.
Also won the BAFTA for Best Special Effects.
So and the Brits chose it over E.T.
I just find it funny mentioning these since we're like, oh, they're kind of hokey, but this is several years removed.
Right, yeah.
And of course, it's been parodied numerous times. For me, the one I remember the most is The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. I think Treehouse of Horror 1, actually. And they have like a haunted house, and at the end, it like does the imploding blip thing.
Yeah. I remember it being parodied on Treehouse of Horror. That was appointment television every year, Treehouse of Horror. So,
yes,
yeah, I do
100%.
That.
Okay, so because of the commercial success, this has spawned 2 sequels. First in 1986, Poltergeist 2, The Other Side, or more commonly known as just Poltergeist 2. A long story short, the Freeling family, they move after the attack, rightfully so, and also their house is gone in the first one. But the supernatural force, aka the Beast, apparently is following them around. It takes on a form physically of this insane cult preacher that led a cult in the 19th century. So you kind of get more of that, like we were joking about the ghost that wants friends. This is kind of more up on that level. He's a cult leader. He has his followers. I looked up the guy who played this so we can have this conversation, and I forgot the guy's name, but this is one of his last roles. He's super creepy in this movie. Okay. He randomly sings Tiny Tim. Yeah. It makes it extra creepy. That is what I was talking about earlier with the, like, I think the homage in Insidious, because that creature in the other realm plays a vinyl and it's Tiny Tim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, sure, it's intentional because they put it there, but I'm thinking it's with the haunted house, with the kid being the subject of the haunting. I'm assuming that's like their homage to Poltergeist. To help get their daughter back again, they get Native American shaman, and I believe Tangia is involved in both sequels. I forget how. It's been a while. Okay. I think she probably recommends the Native American shaman because they're out west now. They're on different hallowed grounds, probably more cemeteries that didn't get moved.
Just recommended by oh, I'll find a shaman for you. Here you go.
I don't really remember. I remember liking both the sequels.
Okay.
I haven't seen them in a while. I own them all, so I liked them enough to buy them. I should revisit them after this episode. They're creepy in different ways. It looks like this was actually the first draft of the original Poltergeist, and that the family apparently was going to be terrorized by ghosts of pilgrims who have run into some sort of Native American cult. That doesn't sound as good as all the things I just said. I don't like that so much.
I guess what I'm curious about is obviously it's already like iffy having them being, terrorized by Native Americans, like not necessarily historically accurate, but also it's not enough. They're a tribe of Native Americans. They're a cult now.
Yeah. Well, that's like, not from my. That's not what happens. It's the creepy preacher guy, and the Native American shaman helps like ward off these evil spirits. They actually like have like a seance or something out in the wilderness, and the fire turns blue, and I think they jump into the fire and go to the other world. Hence the subtitle. That part's vague for me. And there's like a scary creature thing, maybe the beast in beast form. I forget. It's all vague. But H.R. Geiger did the effects for that creature. biggest thing here is both our director and non-director had no involvement in this film. So Hooper and Spielberg were not involved. The two co-writers from the first one are, and from what I understand, this script was basically supposed to be the first one. So I said, let's rewrite it and make it the sequel.
Okay.
As you do. You have it
Like you do.
collecting dust. It's already there.
Yep.
Poltergeist 3, 1988. Carol Ann is sent to live with her family, her aunt and uncle, in Chicago. And I think the reasoning behind this, from what I remember, is she's going to go to a special school for, I want to say, gifted and people dealing with trauma. I forget exactly what it was, but yeah, there's a lot of things happening to her. I don't know if the family knows exactly what happened to her, which is weird, or they're
Right.
in denial, or they just want to get her help because she's very traumatized, as one would be. Also, kind of know where Robbie is because he got eaten by a tree at least once.
Yeah.
The creepy preacher ghost guy apparently was a great hit in the second one. They brought him back in Chicago, and they use mirrors to contact the living world. At one point, there's a really cool scene where there's like Carol Ann's looking in the mirror. She does the hand thing like on the TV against the mirror, and the little reflection of the blonde, cute little girl, her face gets all ugly and grimacing, and like it's the
Mm,
ghost guy, but it's still her
okay.
face. And the fingers come through the mirror and interlock her fingers and
Oh,
like start dragging her around
no.
this giant mirror. And by the way, in Chicago, this building is entirely glass and mirror. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
everything's bad. Everything's bad.
Okay.
I think there's a scene in a parking garage and there's no mirrors in sight. She's safe. But then she's standing in a puddle in her one piece little onesie pajamas with
Hmm.
feeties. And I think she gets sucked into it. I again can't fully remember after rewatch these, but these scenes stick out from, you know, splashy memories.
Yeah.
Want to kind of check them back out to see if they hold up as much as the first one and if what effects are still good and what aren't, and etc. But
Gotcha.
in 2015, there was a remake. I did not see this one.
Okay.
I felt like kind of a chip on my shoulder. Like, I have the first one; it's so good. How could you make it so good? How could you make? How could you do a remake?
Yeah.
And I think part of that too is I saw the Amityville Horror remake, and I'm a big
Okay.
Amityville Horror fan. I was like, what is this? This is not like everything's scary, but the original you made not scary somehow. I don't know what you made one of the classic horror movies not scary, so I was afraid this was going to ruin it for me, like the other remake did.
Yeah.
That's all I got on that. I think I kind of want to check it out now. As I was doing research for this movie, I forgot, or maybe just didn't even care to notice, but Sam Rockwell is in the remake,
Yeah.
and I like Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, I like Sam Rockwell too. That was the only thing that made me go like, oh, maybe I'll watch it sometime.
Yeah, the cover, the poster, the DVD art, I mean, everything's like a re-envisioned version of like the creepy clown. And I
Hmm.
was like, why is that the big? I'm afraid like that's going to be like the biggest thing in the movie, and I don't want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll get back to you if I ever check that one out.
Okay. So there is a so-called poltergeist curse associated with this movie. Notably, Dominique Dunn, who played Dana, the older daughter, was murdered by her boyfriend. I believe she tried to break up with him. He came back to her house and strangled her, and I think she died a few days later, like in the hospital. Her dad, at least, was famous. Dominic Dunn produced a couple films, turned to writing. Later, he wrote a lot about like crime and justice for Vanity Fair. He was really notable for covering like the O.J. Simpson trial and the Menendez brothers trial. If you saw the newer Menendez brothers miniseries on Netflix, he's played by Nathan Lane. He turned to writing about true crime, it sounds like because of Dominique's death. Her ex boyfriend was acquitted of second degree murder. He was convicted on voluntary manslaughter, which is a lesser charge. He was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison, which, like, already doesn't sound like a lot for killing someone, but he only served 2.5 years. So Dominic Dunn, like basically for the rest of his life, felt that, the justice system had failed them and kind of spent the rest of his life trying to be an advocate and also, like I said, writing about it, covering famous cases. Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann in all three movies, died at the age of 12. It was before the third film came out. She had stenosis of the intestine, which is, I guess, the narrowing of blood vessels. Um, she had been misdiagnosed with Crohn's disease. It sounded like since birth almost. Apparently her parents like sued the doctors after her death for not catching this at all. The interview that I read with Jo Beth Williams said that she really loved working with Heather, and they were kind of like this team since they were supposed to be a mother and daughter anyway. And Heather O'Rourke was really new to acting, and she really took to Jo Beth Williams as like a mother figure. Apparently, though, Heather O'Rourke was just so used to having like stomach pains, stomach cramps, like different types of issues that she never really complain about it that much because it was just sort of like her everyday thing. And she was apparently like having these issues even while filming the first Poltergeist, like didn't always feel well, but didn't really say anything about it. And I think looking back, Jo Beth Williams was talking about like if we all knew like how much pain she was in, like maybe she could have gone and gotten things like checked out sooner. They just were, like I said, under the assumption that everything was Crohn's disease.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Man, that sucks.
And yeah, like 12, like so like both of them are horrible because they were both really young, but I think it hits harder like having just seen Poltergeist and thinking this little girl died from just like a misdiagnosis.
There's that. Like 12 is very young.
Hmm.
And I guess what it's like kind of going in my head is like she was what 5 or 6 on set of the first one and just in this chronic pain.
Right,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
Hmm.
What a professional acting right through it.
Right. All right. So the last like big piece of lore we have to talk about with this movie, this kind of feud, not feud between Steven Spielberg and Tobe Hooper. There's this whole question of who actually directed Poltergeist. This was hard to research because there are some things that came out of this like investigations that are factual, but it literally seemed like every interview, depending on who you talked to, depending on I don't know, when they were talking to you, people had different opinions on who was like the quote unquote real director of Poltergeist. So it is clear that Spielberg was frequently on set and he exerted a large amount of creative control. I don't think that's necessarily surprising considering like it was his story to begin with. He's still credited as a producer. So for that reason, some feel that Spielberg should be considered Poltergeist's co-director or sometimes even the main director. Spielberg and Hooper both seem very adamant that like Tobe Hooper directed this movie. I also think part of the problem with that though is like if they admitted that it was Steven Spielberg, he could have been in breach of contract for Universal because we already knew that he wasn't allowed. He was contractually not allowed to work on this with ET or direct this with ET. Spielberg didn't exactly help himself sometimes. This is a quote from the Los Angeles Times in May of 1982. This is about Tobe Hooper. Tobe isn't a take charge sort of guy. If a question was asked and an answer wasn't immediately forthcoming, I'd jump in and say what we could do. Tobe would nod agreement, and that became the process of collaboration. Frank Marshall, who was a co producer, also told the LA Times the creative force of the movie was Steven. Toby was the director and was on the set every day, but Steven did the design for every storyboard, and he was on the set every day.
Very hands-on producer.
Yeah. The actress who played Tangina Zelda Rubinstein, she gave an interview where she said Steven directed all 6 days that she was on set. Toby set up the shots and Steven made the adjustments. She also said that Hooper, quote, allowed some unacceptable chemical agents into his work, and that during her audition, Toby was only partially there. She's insinuated basically that Toby Hooper had like a drug problem
Right.
and he wasn't all there for like any of it. And that seems to be like her issue with it. She was like personally offended by his like addiction that he was dealing with. But I think the insinuation for her was that it was unprofessional and he wasn't, like, he was under the influence of something while directing. That was not brought up by anyone else. It seems to be an issue like she specifically had with Toby Hooper. There's an interview with John Leonetti. He is the first assistant cameraman. He reported that Spielberg directed the film more than Hooper, saying Hooper was so nice and just happy to be there. He creatively had input. Steven developed the movie and it was his to direct, except there was anticipation of a director's strike. So he was, quote, the producer, but really, he directed it in case there was going to be a strike, and Toby was cool with that. It wasn't anything against Toby. Every once in a while, he would actually leave the set and let Toby do a few things just because, but really, Steven directed it.
Just happy to be there.
Just happy to be there. On the flip side, I have some quotes from people claiming it was, his movie. So Toby Hooper himself and Grace, one of the co-writers, they both claim that Steven was barely around because he was so busy with E.T. They barely saw him, just shared notes once in a while. Toby Hooper was upset about the claims that Spielberg had done all the storyboards, and Toby Hooper said that he himself did half of them. Like, we're almost getting, like, nitpicky here.
Like, he didn't do all of them. He did half.
Yep.
I did half the work when I wasn't on my drugs. Allegedly.
James Karen, who played the owner of the real estate company, the dad's boss, he was at a 25th anniversary event, and he said specifically that Zelda Rubinstein's remarks were unfair to Hooper. She laid into Toby, and I don't know why. Toby was kind to her. Toby had a hard time on that film. It's tough when a producer is on set every day, and there's always been a lot of talk about that. I considered Toby my director. That's my stand on all of those rumors. And Oliver Robbins, who played Robbie, and Martin Casella, who played Marty, they had both given interviews where they were like, Toby was directing me, Toby was blocking the shots, Toby was telling me what to do as an actor. Mick Garris, who you might remember from being a writer on Hocus Pocus, he worked as a publicist on Poltergeist. He visited the set a lot and became friends with Hooper. As we discussed in our Hocus Pocus episode, he has a podcast called Postmortem, and he defended Hooper on the podcast, saying that he was always doing directing duties, not Spielberg. The week that the film came out, which also I think was within a week of E.T. coming out, by the way, The Hollywood Reporter printed an open letter from Steven Spielberg to Toby Hooper, thanking him for his hard work on the film and for allowing Spielberg to be involved as a writer and producer. He said everything in the press was a misunderstanding and that Poltergeist is very much Hooper's film. The Directors Guild of America opened an investigation because of all this. They specifically were concerned about, quote, questions of whether or not Hooper's official credit was being denigrated by statements Spielberg has made, apparently claiming authorship. Which I think was like that original quote from Spielberg that I read you that really didn't, help Spielberg's case in this.
No, it didn't help at all.
Right. They eventually ruled that MGM and UA Entertainment had to pay Hooper $15,000 because the studio gave Spielberg a bigger credit than Hooper, despite Hooper being a director and Spielberg being a producer, specifically in the trailers. Although they noted that broader issues of dispute exist between producer-writer Spielberg and the director. The Directors Guild originally sought damages of $200,000.
Jeez.
Right? The only things we know for sure are the investigation that followed and the open letter that Spielberg printed in the Hollywood Reporter to Hooper.
That's crazy.
I know.
I feel like when I was younger and when the internet was younger, there were more things kind of centered around this poltergeist curse. And I was like looking stuff up and I kept seeing like the literal deaths of the actors that were in the film. Mm-hmm. And most of them were just kind of crazy coincidences. I couldn't find anything that we aren't talking about now, but it's like the early times of the internet, the urban legends, like I remember more things about the film or talking about more things with friends. Like, oh, did you know this happened and this has happened and this, that. And obviously I think the rumors were just running rampant, especially after when the actress Carol Ann, Heather O'Rourke, when she passed away, like right before the movie, I think a lot of things were kind of like, oh man. And there were rumors that she was like traumatized and there were real ghosts following her around.
Oh,
I
geez,
think
yeah.
on I think on one of the sets, I think it had to be the second one, the
Hmm.
actor who played the shaman was like I think a real life medicine man, and when they wrapped, I think he performed some sort of ritual exorcism thing on set too, just to like
Or like a
get
cleansing or
yes,
something.
like a
Yeah.
cleansing,
Hmm.
and I don't think that helped with that kind of rumor about
Yeah.
the real ghosts kind of bothering them.
Yeah, in that interview that I read with the parents, the actors who played the parents, they said that they really didn't feel like there was anything like weird or spooky, like no actual truth to anything like that people would claim, but they did specify that it was like so much like grosser than they expected because like they're rolling around in that mud in the pool and like it's always raining when they have to be in the yard in the mud, and they made a joke like, oh, this is like the glamorous like showbiz life that we've been going after, right? And they mostly were all just wondering how this was actually all going to turn out as a final film, and like, are people actually going to go see it, or is it just going to be some like B movie that they go see like late at night? Good for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just find it funny, the whole director controversy, because
Hmm.
I feel like we've came across that before, probably with Steven, I don't know, but it feels like isn't there couldn't he have just like delayed production on it so he just directed himself if that's what he wanted to do? Like
Hmm.
why get it filmed the same time as ET?
Maybe he couldn't because it was two different studios. I don't know. Maybe he couldn't coordinate. I did want to point out though that Amblin Entertainment, uh, put out Poltergeist, his own production studio that like he passed up Hocus Pocus for.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Which just makes it even more weird that he's contractually obligated not to direct a movie under his own production house, but he can
Well,
be a producer and writer.
it was Universal was doing ET that said he couldn't direct another movie while he was on ET.
Okay, but it's still to me funny that it's like his house, so to speak.
Yeah, and he can't direct it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Which again, if that's your production house, just be like, hey, we're gonna wait 6 weeks and then we'll start. Like, I don't get it.
Good point.
It does feel to me more Spielberg. When I think or talk about this movie, I always kind of say it's a Spielberg movie. I
Yeah.
mentioned that with like the beginning, with the setting of the suburban life. I mean, if there's any proof that we're done at the same time with ETs, watch them back to back. Like it just feels the same up until a certain point when it becomes more aliens and more ghosts, obviously.
Hmm.
But just the
Yeah,
setting feels like they could be neighboring cities or something like that.
I could see that. Yeah.
Plus the whole PGR thing. It seems to be what Spielberg likes to do.
Right. So did Poltergeist hold up for you?
Yeah, I think so. Despite like some of the aged effects, which will happen, obviously.
Hmm.
I don't remember. I remember it being scarier. Of course, I watched it when I was much
Yeah.
younger. I remember it being scarier as I grew up and continued watching it. I guess it's different when you're taking notes. It wasn't as scary this time around, but there were moments that were very tense. As I mentioned, there are certain things, certain monologues that still kind of give me goosebumps. I love Joe Beth in this. I feel more like
Hmm.
emotionally connected to the film now as an adult, even without children. But like thinking of like situation with my nieces and nephews or anything like that, or putting
Yeah.
myself in her position, like she also gave me goosebumps. Just her acting,
Hmm.
her just emotional stress and duress she was put through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it holds up. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. I can't do a comparison for this one, but like I had fun.
Good,
Might go into the Halloween movie rotation.
nice.
Well, we would love to hear your thoughts on Poltergeist as well as your own favorite Halloween films. You can find us on Instagram at Back Through the Lens Pod and on Facebook at Back Through the Lens. You can also email us at backthroughthelenspodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. It's the best way to support our show.
If you enjoyed our show today, please give us a like and follow for updates on new and future episodes. Our show is produced by our hosts, Rachel Campbell, and myself, Joe Siomek, with additional help and support from Peter Telp of LPV Productions. Peter, Rachel, and I are also the executive producers. Our awesome logo is brought to you by Tom Faraci, and our wonderful theme song is by Matt Tarek. Thanks for listening, and please stay tuned for more trips into our movie watching past on Back the Lens.
I don't know how to banter about this. It's the first time I've ever seen it.
Ghosts and stuff. Ghosts.